Hi Dee! It's your host Tim Conrad of the Wildfires, Floods, and Chaos Communications podcast with a quick bits update from Kamloops on the unceded land of the Tk'emlúps Tshik'umbik. If you were following along on YouTube, LinkedIn, or TikTok channels for Butterfly Effect Communications, or on my LinkedIn page, you saw updates from a nearly 3,000 kilometer road trip I just did. It was a beautiful adventure past mountains and prairies and over 100 wild animals. I went to Jasper, where I saw a town rebuilding at an impressive scale and the forest regrowing after ugly fires from 2 years ago. The magnificence of Jasper remains intact, and I was so happy to feel the hope among community members and see the street buzzing with visitors. Next up was Edmonton, where I attended and spoke faster than lightning at the CRH Net Symposium and saw and met many incredible professionals in emergency management. Getting time with legends while there, including Marion Boone and Michelle Doré and Jody Mans-Hines, was one of the many highlights that I had. Some folks are giddy over politicians and celebrities. I love meeting those who make us better. After a brief stop in St. Albert, I was off to Whitecourt, where, along with my colleague Ellen McCormack of Exposure PDP, we hosted a presentation for local governments. If you need a lunch and learn session, we recorded it. Just send me a note and I'll give you confidential access to this insider's look at managing emergencies. Next was a few days in our former home of Grand Prairie, where I caught up with former colleagues at Aquaterra Utilities, the municipal water, wastewater, and solid waste company. We did incredible work during my time there as an employee, and driving around the region, I saw campaigns, sponsorships, and even head office branding that remain in the community over a decade later. Do it right, and you do it once. We listened, and boy, does it ever really show today. It was also my first time back in the fire halls of the County of Grand Prairie after retiring in 2016. I was incredibly proud to walk in and see one of the recruits I helped train serving as an acting captain, and to hear stories from firefighters of the department's involvement in the Jasper fires and the recent wildfires in their region. I sure do miss sitting around that table and in the backs of those rigs with all my sisters and brothers. It instantly brought back a load of pride from building a brand new fire service that we started back in the early 2010s. From there, I hopped over to the stunningly beautiful and relaxing Tumbler Ridge for a night. While there, I sat down with Trent Ernst of the Tumbler Ridgeline News, and we captured his experience from standing outside the school when the shelter-in-place alert came through to the long journey of healing he's determined to now take the town on since that school shooting. Here's a preview.
There were people saying stupid things online, and I made a post on Facebook saying, you know, we can have hard conversations. We can talk to people who disagree with us, but without it turning into a he said, she said, without it turning into a you suck, I know everything and your opinion is completely invalid.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I am trying to do is to leave space for those conversations, but also help people navigate those conversations with sensitivity.
While Tumbler Ridge will be etched in your mind for the tragic school shooting earlier this year, I want you to put this little town on your bucket list. This magical place has more waterfalls than you can imagine, trails for everyone and everything, gorgeous mountain views, and let's talk about dinosaur bones and freaking foot tracks preserved in rocks. Not only that, you've got the quietness that is matched by the people who live there. If you go to Tumbler Ridge, you'll find it remains on your bucket list permanently. The next few days were long and full. I motored over to Prince George, just a 5-hour jump across the Pine Pass, to meet with clients, longtime friends, and team members. Then I zipped down to Williams Lake to my second home, where I'm always surrounded by friends who have become family. In all, there was time for conversations with hundreds of people who work in the world of chaos and communications. Beyond recording an episode, I also lined up over a dozen guests for future episodes. Here's a preview of our upcoming issue of the Migration Newsletter. Headlines to watch for. State of emergency as northern Manitoba community faces a crisis as residents consider permanently leaving. An aid worker who showed up to help with the Ebola response was nearly killed by an angry mob who believes their organization brought the disease to the community. A Mexican billionaire scammed out of $450 million by a company in Russia posing as an investment firm. Vandals were responsible for an internet and phone outage, which impacted nearly half of British Columbia. Read more by subscribing to the migration newsletter on our website, communicationspodcast.com. My road trip was not without its unknowns. I received multiple emergency alerts ranging from a major water outage back home in Kamloops to a wildfire I drove by in Parkland County. Driving was a mitigation and response exercise, especially on the last two legs. In the final half, I narrowly avoided 5 crashes involving vehicles. First, my spare trailer tire detached while driving on a side road, which thankfully avoided a catastrophic moment on the highway a short time later. Next, hydroplaning nearly took me out, saved by letting off the gas and letting those tires ease back in. Years of driving in Nova Scotia pay off in those moments. Lastly, on the final day, I avoided 3 head-on collisions due to drivers who did not have enough time or space to pass. It might be me, but if anyone had a reason to rush, it was likely the fellow on the 3,000-kilometer road trip. I was not happy that I had nearly had 3 deadly collisions, including one which I blocked a vehicle from passing from behind me at a dangerous corner, a move I have never felt necessary. Mitigation matters, and we need to keep it in mind when we're driving too. A huge thanks to everyone who kept me safe, moving, and warm on this trip. This includes those who are unseen, such as cleaners, road crews, emergency responders, weather forecasters, and restaurant and fuel stop staff. While I may have driven over 42 hours in 2 weeks, you were working for everyone the entire time, and you were all vital to me. I'm hoping to sneak in another live episode very soon, so make sure you're subscribed to our LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook channels. Do you have a guest or episode idea? Jump over to www.communicationspodcast.com to send a message and other ways to connect with us, including all of those pages where you can follow for the live episode. I really appreciate every note that you send and love bumping into listeners from across Canada and beyond. Guests that have been on the show are especially happy when they hear about their episode from someone, as we're all much too hard on ourselves or too quiet and too reserved. So they really do like being recognized, so make sure you give them a little love if you see them. I hope you'll join me for a live episode soon. Goodbye. Hear me later.